What is good, everybody? Welcome in to another live edition of the Coach and Company podcast. I am the coach. Hopefully, you all got to see the morning show live on Stadium. What a fun F Day Rant Wednesday episode it was. We introduced two new members of our handicapping family, Baby Raph and Baby Marky Model. If you didn't see it, I encourage you on our Coaching Company YouTube page to go back and watch the entire episode. We'll be putting out some shorts and reels later on today. Now, we started doing this podcast live for everybody because, hey, you guys asked for it, and it is not sports betting content. We dive into the bigger topics in sports as a sports fan would, and we absolutely love it, and you guys do as well. If you want your voice to be heard, you can do it via a super sticker in the chat or simply a donation to the show if my cappers have done you right. Now, today, we've got a lot of topics to get into. We never go more than 20 or 30 minutes, but I've got my partner, my numbers guy, standing by. There he is. Now, I will say you've now entered, Raphael, into a mentor role here on the show and the brand because Baby Raph made his very first appearance today. How are you, sir?
Hey, I'm doing well. I have to speak a little bit quietly because someone's taking a nap, but it's been doing well. I mean, he's a late night person, so I have someone to watch games with.
It's very. I bet he is a great partner, friend to sit there on the. Have you seen that video? By the way, it went viral where clearly the dad is betting on something, and it's like a soccer game, and somebody scores, and the video's on him, and he leans back, and the little kid who's probably won is like, "Yeah!" And then he looks at his dad and realizes it's the wrong team scored, and his dad's back like this, and so he goes back like this. Oh, it's one of the funniest videos I've ever seen because the kid just wants to be like his dad, but he doesn't realize when he sees a goal, it's a goal. So, I love that. Maybe Baby Raph will do the same thing.
Hope
Maybe.
so.
All right. We've got to get to it because we never go longer than 30 minutes here on the show. We usually do 2 or 3 topics. And Raphael, you have such a pivotal role in what we do here at the brand. And at the end of the morning show, you got news that The Athletic is reporting that as early as today, the NFL could ban the tush push. What more are you hearing? Because I'm here for it.
Yeah, a little bit shocked that it's going to be banned probably sometime today. I thought maybe towards the middle of the season or maybe next year it would be banned, but I'm hearing that the Eagles, the Packers fixed the language, and I guess some other teams jumped on board. I'm hearing the Cowboys jumped on board, and the commissioner is also jumping on board. So I think this is going to be banned sometime Thursday or Wednesday afternoon.
There's a lot of people that are on both sides of the fence. Some people are tired of the topic. Some people are saying, "Hey, listen, just figure out a way to stop it." And those people drive me insane. This is, and I don't know if you're one of them or not. I can't remember your stance on this. I'm about to find out. But this is not rugby. And if you watch rugby, they all get in and they all push each other down the field. This is football. And if you can't get a yard or 2 yards by blocking one-on-one or a full line, to me, you're not good enough. And if you need 2 big dudes or 3 big dudes behind you pushing you, you're not good enough. And so if the Eagles are pissed and they're truly sending Jason Kelce to New York to fight this fight, do they really think this could be the difference between them winning and losing? Because that, to me, it just reeks of desperosity.
Maybe last year they can send Kelce because I think the name Kelce was better well known last year than this year. Their name is pretty, been downward. They haven't really done anything. Podcast nowhere to be found. So I think the name has been dwindled. But for me, I'm against it. I don't like it. And the number one reason why I don't like it, because remember USC, when they pushed Reggie Bush into the end zone and they scored that touchdown, we lost 6 figures on that game, and I got my ass reamed by the president of the casino because we got booty hammered on that one. Oh, I've never gotten yelled at so bad. Like, I missed a tackle. The president of the casino was just ripping me. Oh.
See, this is what I don't understand. This is why we do the podcast separate from the morning show, to be able to discuss things without having to go to commercial break or something like that. I've never understood, because I love your stories, and some of them are just crazy to me. and how sports books go about doing their business and how they say, oh, you'll see on Twitter, well, we need this to happen for this. To me, a sports book is there to try to even out the playing field and win juice. But you didn't play. And I hear all these stories, Raphael, about, oh, I got yelled at, as if you didn't score the touchdown or you did score the touchdown. I guess I just can't figure out how people in that industry who work for the sports books live and die by, here's what we needed as a company. It's not you personally. What am I
See,
missing?
I'll break that down because yeah, you nailed it when you said company. But in a casino and even a sports books like DraftKings and all that, it's all about that individual sport. So if you lost in football, you're gonna get yelled at. You may have won six figures in baseball that day, but if you lost in
Okay.
football, the bosses want to know. I used to tell people, yeah, the sports books lost six figures, but what did blackjack do that evening? What did table games do? What did poker do? Because we
Right.
just gave a whole bunch of money. They didn't care. As long if that department was in red, you were going to get yelled at.
It's so funny because I think the front facing of any casino or sports book is, hey, we want you to win as much as possible. We want you to win with us. We're going to celebrate you hitting that slot machine or whatever the case might be. When in reality, the reason, that old saying, well, they didn't build Las Vegas on winners, but it's truly us against them. And now with social media, with shows like this, that kind of, unveiling what it's really like, the books and the casinos have no desire for us to win, do they?
No, and one example that I use, I can't remember what book in Colorado, but Colorado has the most action on table tennis, and they get crushed on table tennis. But you know what? People who win on table, you know what they bet? They bet baseball, they bet NBA, they bet anything else. So they
Hmm.
finally learned that, hey, you know what? Yeah, they're crushing us in table tennis. Let's give them more extension. Let's give them more limits because they're just going to rebet baseball the next day or football the next day. So they learned how to appreciate losing on one section and win on another.
And that's what I've talked about whenever we meet. Because right now, as you know, um, we have a lot of meetings as the brand is now growing. And if you're growing a business, you obviously need to have clients and partners. And I get very frustrated as I've watched, and it's all about timing too. But 6 or 7 years ago, when the United States acted like, oh, we've just invented betting on your phone, when in Australia and Europe, they've been doing it for 20 years. But they're at a point where, to me, they're antiquated. And I'll tell a little funny story. When we were at CBS, Caesars was the original sports book, and they wrote CBS a $20 million check to be the official sports book of CBS. So all the games and all over at Caesars, and then it switched over to BetMGM in the last few months that I was there. But I remember having one of these sales guys call me, and they had 10 sales guys just for the sports book. And he goes, hey, coach, I see you're trying all these different ideas on your show. And man, can you help us out? We're all on the chopping block. And you know me, I'm an idea guy. I've got 100 of them. And I gave him like 8 or 10. I said, try some of these. But most of them focused on the current people playing and not what I call the acquisitions, which, as you know, sports books are all about how many people do we sign up? Bet $5, get $200 in free play only for new customers. And not worrying about those that are already playing. Yes or no, Raphael? If I have player A, who is a current customer and he has $0 in his account, or player B, who's a new customer, and they both put in $1,000 into their account, is there any difference?
Nope.
Zero. And every time I would have these conversations, they would look at me like my head was, popping off my shoulders, because they're always like, no, but a new head equals $150 or $200, instead of this person over here, he's already playing with us or she's already playing with us. And if she reloads, because I always wanted a reload option. Let them put another $1,000 in or whatever that number might be. And I still can't understand, because they all do it. And I told this one particular sports book, I said, if you make this small change in how you think about how you're running your business, you will then get those people to come over and play with you, because they'll understand that you value the current customer. And to me, I don't know why they don't do it, because none of them do it yet.
No, they should give the farm away on the first reload bonus, and then every time they reload, give another. Maybe the second and third one meant not as good as the first one, but hey, yeah, they
Right.
get that $5 for 200. Okay, now they lost. Hey, reload $5 give you $400. That reload bonus should be the higher one than when you first start off, because now you brought a loyal customer that's going to stay there and bet, not
Stay.
just get that one $5, $200, and then they're going to jet off to another company and get another $5. You want them to stay
Yeah.
at your establishment and keep on giving them bonuses after the reloads.
No question. Because for most people, most, they're going to lose that reload bonus as well. And that's the part that I don't understand, because when you talk about they get yelled at me, they did this. I'm like, they limited this player. Most players are going to give it back. So when they limit a player, that makes absolutely zero sense to me, because then that player will not want to come back and play at your casino and or your sports book, when in all likelihood, and we all know this and we still continue to do it, they're probably going to lose that reload bonus anyway.
Yeah, I mean, some of
Most
the
of the time.
rules that they do now, banning people. I mean, taking away bets because the books made a bad number. I always said if you make a number, you pay the number. It doesn't matter. I make mistakes all the time. I usually make them all the time, and I would honor that. Hey, I'm sorry, it was plus 120. It should have been minus 120. Did I refund it? No. If you beat me, hats off. You caught it. Here you go.
Play the long game, baby. Play the long game. To put a bow on that story, Caesars. How many ideas, Raphael, do you think of mine they used during that time period?
Oof. I mean, you have some great ones, and I'm not just blowing smoke. So I'm going to say zero.
Zero. How many of those 10 people got the axe 3 months later?
Ooh, I know all of them. All of them.
All of them. And I spoke to that guy, and I'm not, believe me, I've made my mistakes and I've done, we're all human. You have to live with it. But I did make a call and I said, why did you not use any of my ideas? Well, we talked about them, but it's hard to execute. I said, it's really not. I said, it's really not that hard at all. You guys make it hard. A lot of companies want to have meetings, to have meetings, to have meetings, and never make a decision. At our little company here, you guys, we execute. We have an idea, Raphael, boom. We had Baby Raph, he's on the show today. It doesn't have to be. I watch a lot of videos, and for people who are watching right now, if you want to be successful or you want to grow in this crazy world of media and podcasting and all this kind of stuff, Raphael, I would rather make 4 mistakes to get to the fifth idea that works than have 4 meetings to get to my first idea in that same length of time. But most people are not like that. They want to have a meeting, to have a meeting, to have a meeting. I call it protecting your pension, because they don't want to make an idea because they think they'll be on an island by themselves. And then all of a sudden, I'm going to get the axe when that time comes because I was separate from the group, instead of being innovative, instead of coming up with ideas that maybe will work. Because I learned this from Vince McMahon. Say what you want about him as a person, is what it is. But Raphael, the one thing I learned from him is if you try something and it works, now you've got a home run. But if you don't swing the bat, it's impossible to hit a home run.
I think people are just afraid to fail, and I think that's
Yes.
why they don't want that. I mean, I failed all the time, and now I get to sit around and watch TV and get paid for it. But I
There you go.
failed a lot of times before I got to sit here and get paid to watch TV.
Amen. And I never thought I'd be in a position in my career where I would have paying gigs, I guess we can call them, with the PFL and the PGA Tour, but also to be able to build this brand with people that have become amazing friends like yourself, like Producer Man, DG, the whole crew. I mean, a year ago, I didn't even know Vince Russo. And now we have a show
That
that is,
shocks me every time you say that, and I watch, and
yeah,
you know I watch Coaching Bro because I'm always in the chat.
yes,
And
you are.
every time you say that, it blows because the chemistry you guys have when I watch that, and then because you say it probably once a month, and once a month my jaw drops.
Yeah. Never met him. He was already gone by the time I started. And I guess kind of opposites attract. And we met and we actually had him on the show as a guest
Yeah,
with me and Tommy. And I remember saying to myself, man, I really like how this guy thinks. And wrestling fans are, we call them marks for a reason, because they will read a headline, and I saw the hate and the vitriol that he was getting for just an opinion. Think about it, Raphael. On a wrestling opinion, people losing their minds like it changed their life or changed their day because of his opinion and then mine. And we started the show, and a week from today, we launched on the Stadium Network, which is amazing.
Well
It's
deserved.
amazing. Less than a year, I guess, like 9 months. We've been doing. We started that show in August, and so we're gonna have 2 shows on Stadium, which is really hard to do in this whole new world. But I feel like we're ahead of the game. And you don't make millions of dollars when you start. But I met with some really smart people who also have their own brands. And you know what I heard from all of them? I would say it's 4 or 5 well-known people that and you know their shows. All of them, Raphael said, don't expect not just profit, don't expect revenue for the first 3 to 5 years. And you got to put that in perspective because we think that brands just pop up and they're success. Like Pat McAfee show, oh, he just started and all of a sudden, no, he's been doing this since he was at Barstool. Do you remember he was at Barstool?
He
I
was
didn't.
with me over at my bookie as one of our first affiliates.
He just
That was during
he
COVID
hits,
days.
right? Yeah, and he just moved on and up and up and up and up. And my point is that if you grind every single day like we do, and we have like this very unique group of people that we all have our day jobs, but then we all have maneuvered our worlds to be able to do Coach and Company, which I'm very grateful for, and then also Coach and Bro, the last word, which you're a big part of as well. And I had to think the other day, it kind of stopped me. Sometimes I'll get in my feels a little bit. And I thought, even the last word, not even a year. And I'm sitting there in my mind going, we should be here. When I'm like, we haven't even been on for a year. Coaching Company, 4 months. 4 months is all we've been on the air. And look where we're at. So sometimes I think you got to pat yourself on the back a little bit, but understand that the grind that's in front of you, because every other show, all these shows, they're falling off. Right? DraftKings Network just got rid of all their shows.
You need to pat yourself on the back on how you groomed Tommy, because Tommy is a star now. It's amazing when I watch him on camera, and then I was there when he did his first show, and I watched it. It's amazing what you did with Big Tommy C. So hope you feel better, Tommy.
Thank you. Anybody that's watching right now that may or may not want to get into this business or to the media business or to the podcast business, I'll say 2 things. First and foremost, you got to have video. If you start a podcast in today's world without video, you're spitting into the wind. There's over 50 million podcasts in the country right now going.
That's probably a low number too.
Yeah, that's just the last number I looked at. Yeah, you're absolutely right. But also, look at Big Tommy C. Big Tommy C was a producer for 32 years inside of the WWE. Knows wrestling inside and out. I called him, Raphael, it was so foreign to him of being on TV or a podcast, whatever, as a talent, that when I called him and said, hey, I'm thinking about doing this, he's like, oh, you want me to produce it?
No, that was his first words?
Yes.
Oh,
he
wow.
said, oh, you want me to produce it? I've never remote produced before. Because we know that's a new talent. We have Producer Man, who is the best live remote producer in the country, bar none, not close. And so he thought I wanted him to produce the show. And I said, no, I want you to be my co-host. And let's see how it goes. And not only has he been good at it, but he's embraced it. We brought him on Coaching Company. He's now a handicapper. He has Big Tommy's, what does he call them? Big Tommy's Fun Facts?
Yeah, Fun Facts.
Fun Facts. I mean, he's branding his own shit. It's just, I think I've reached a point in my life where it's not about me being on TV anymore. It's not even about my career. It's about doing stuff that's fun, helping people, making sure they're in a good mental headspace. And in return, that has put me in a much better mental headspace to not always be chasing the brass ring, to not always be chasing that. And because of that, I feel like we're getting farther faster because I'm not focused on that. And it's a kind of a weird place to be, if that makes sense to you.
No, and I mean, I've been working for a lot of companies, and this is one of the ones that there's so many people that are willing to say, hey, you know what, let me take that. Or do you need help with that? Or you know what, I think you could do this better. Or that was fantastic. Where most companies, the only things you hear from is just an email and a reply all. You don't get text messages and phone calls. I mean, some of the companies I work for now, getting a phone call is like trying to pull teeth, but I get a reply all email every 5 seconds where you get 20 reply alls. That doesn't work. Personal conversations makes you grow.
It does. And the last thing I will say, and this is what I love about our podcast, is we'll have a plan, we'll have topics, and then we get over here. And sometimes you got to teach. And we're also going to be starting a as I like to call it, side hustle, where we teach people about being on camera, we teach people about writing with Vince Russo, and we teach people about betting with Rafael Esparza. And that is something we are currently working on behind the scenes because we want to be a place, Rafael, where people can come and they can learn because they enjoy it. Because to me, it's a lot more fun, even if you're losing sometimes, if you feel confident and comfortable in what you're doing, whatever that content is. And I hope people that are watching right now and hear this stop and think about that for a second. Whatever you're doing in your life, be confident and be comfortable, and you'll be amazed at how your voice changes, at how your demeanor changes. And Raphael, I had the ability a few years ago to work with the top voice coach in America. He's very expensive. ESPN brought him in on a retainer. You had to sign up with him. I had just left wrestling. I was screaming all the time. I had no ability to control my voice at all. And I would try to do radio, and you got to talk like this, and you got to be very controlled. Or you got to call a big highlight on sports, and you got to be like, Indiana, whatever it is. And I had to learn how to control my voice. And the first thing that this voice coach taught me was the most important thing in speaking is listening because it makes you comfortable. And if you're comfortable, you'll be better. And so hopefully we've taught people a little bit of that today. Be comfortable and be confident. And look at that. We can blow 22 minutes, Raphael, and we didn't even get to the Pacers and Knicks yet.
I want to piggyback on that. When I
Yeah.
used to do a lot of seminars and stuff like that, especially with vets when in Vegas and all that, I said learning on losing bets is more profitable than learning on winning bets. Because now you can go back, okay, why did we lose? Oh, you know what? The bullpen gave up 8 runs in the ninth. Well, you know what? That wasn't on me. We were winning that game. So that would make you accept that loss more than saying, oh man, we got blown out in the first inning or
Yeah.
so and so didn't play. I mean, need to learn on why you lost makes you a better handicapper.
No doubt about it. No doubt about it. Listen and learn. We only have a couple minutes left. We never go longer than 30 minutes here on the podcast. So, real quick, Raphael, there are certain games and events that are just, it's going to be fun to be at. And years ago, when I was trying to get out of the WWE, I had had enough. I'd been there for 8 years. And I was lucky enough to have this woman hired me at MSG Network before she went to ESPN and then took me to ESPN. That's how I got there. But I happened to have the ability to work. I did the pregame show, the halftime show for the Knicks on Madison Square Garden Network, and I worked with Mike Breen. So a couple of things. Mike Breen, I realized I will never be that good. His preparation is next freaking level, which is why he's the voice of the NBA Finals. And number two, I got to be in the building, Raphael, when LeBron scored 50,
Oh,
when
wow.
Kobe scored 61, and you're watching it from mid-court and you're watching this in real time in person. It's so much more impressive as a person. I've played against, I think I counted one time, 13 players that played at least a minute in the NBA. My high school coach, his son played in the NBA. His younger brother was my point guard in high school. So I've been around elite players and I've played against elite players. But watching Kobe Bryant and watching LeBron James at Madison Square Garden elevate their games, Raphael, there's nothing like MSG. And I can't even imagine what it's going to be like tonight, game one.
That's why I don't mind them celebrating when they made it to the Eastern Conference Finals because that's the Mecca. They haven't been there in a very, very long time. So I accept. Now, did they go a little overboard? Yes, but I'm still going to smallly accept it. But it's going to be nuts today. But enjoy it. It's going to be nuts for tip off.
Have you seen all kind of the ancillary storylines that have been going on?
Oh,
Because
yeah.
for me, as a sports fan, the X's and O's I can only talk about for so long. So Reggie Miller has been amazing the last week or so. There was a video, and when they cut shorts or reels on social media, you never know the whole conversation. But Josh Hart, at some point in some game, walked over and yelled at him, and all you heard on the microphone was "F you." But it was like a whole long sentence or two sentences. And I saw Reggie Miller on a podcast with Mark Jackson, former point guard of the Knicks, and they were kind of recounting what I call the greatest last 20 seconds, maybe in the history of basketball.
I agree.
What was it? 9 points in 13. What
It's
was
like,
it?
yeah, something like that.
Like,
13, 14 seconds.
yeah. And
All you
this
have
is
to all
why
you have to do is just this, and everyone knows what you're talking about.
and that was on a t-shirt I think that Halliburton wore. What somebody wore it with this and like an X through it. There's a lot of content out there is my point. And Reggie Miller is leaning into it because he's like, listen, I never would have said anything about anything, but I'm inside Knicks fans' heads because of everything I did inside this building. And when you listen to me, you're like, wait a second. I mean, that was a long time ago. Carry the one. The Knicks have not been here in a quarter century. We're talking 25 years that the number one basketball market in the country hasn't had a team move past May 15th or May 20th. Raphael, there's so much baggage going on with these Knicks fans. Can you imagine the conversations on the subway tonight as people are walking down the street? There's nothing like nighttime in New York City. Can you imagine what that's going to be like tonight with all those fans and those accents from New York?
Oh, it's gonna be electric. But if you think about the biggest moments in basketball in Madison Square Garden, we all remember Trey Young doing a shiver. We
Oh,
all know
yeah.
What Jordan did in Madison Square Garden. We all know what Reggie Miller did. Can you name me one big New York Knicks moment in basketball? All I can remember other players having big moments. I can't remember a Knicks player having a Knicks moment at MSG.
Well, I know that Patrick Ewing was part of a big moment when MJ straddled his face
Yeah,
and dunked
exactly.
on him. That might be the greatest dunk of all time. The greatest dunk of all time. Maybe the greatest performance was
Allen
knowing
Houston?
that, yeah, but he was just a shooter.
Yeah.
That was, it was a great celebration, but how great knowing as I've had a lot of nights where I've stayed up all night at casinos playing. I only play Pai Gow poker. I don't play anything else.
Because you
But
push all day.
I know, push all day. But when MJ went to Atlantic City, and I'm sure they were in a limo and he could sleep on the way back, but that might be the most amazing performance ever, being up all night gambling and still rocking the house when you got back to New York City. And can you imagine if he would have done that in 2025 with social media and phones? He never could have snuck to Atlantic
No,
City
no,
and got back without people knowing, right?
no, no way. I mean, just the athletes back then of the partying and all that with the phones and cameras, it would have been a totally different world if like Jordan and even probably Magic and Bird and stuff like that back in those days, Kareem and all that. Oh yeah, I'm sure that Kareem, I'm sure he had. Can you imagine
Magic?
if Will
Magic?
Chamberlain? Can you believe Will Chamberlain, who says I can say he slept with how many women? He says he slept
20,000, he said.
20,000. Can you imagine if there were cell phones when he was around?
I once did the math on that, if that was true. And I'm telling you right now, it's physically impossible to have slept with. And I know he said, oh, there were some nights where it was like 13 or 14 women all at the same. I don't care. I don't care. The amount to do 20,000 in your lifetime. Oh, it's
But that's more
hey,
impressive than 100 points in my eyes, though.
so true. So true. Real quick before we get out of here, Pacers Knicks tonight. The last number we saw at BetMGM was 4.5. Let's take all the numbers out of it. How do you see this game going?
I think the Pacers steal one. I think they steal game one. I think the Knicks are still celebrating just getting to the Eastern Conference Finals. No one's still talking about the Pacers. No respect on this one. This team is finally playing defense. They're not winning because they're scoring a lot of points. They're winning because they're making that big stop when they need that big stop.
And that's why a lot of people have been losing money on the over bets in the second half of the season for the Pacers. And I absolutely 100% agree with you. People forget in the Boston Celtics series, the first two games, they were down by 20 plus and came back to win. And it wasn't like they dominated throughout the 6-game series. The Pacers are not giving up a 20-point lead if they get up on 20 on the Knicks. And the Knicks cannot count on having a big comeback multiple times in a series. This is a miss by the sports books. They have mispriced it. They've mispriced game one. And this is a perfect example of when you see a misprice. I got him, baby coach. plus 149 in the series. To me, that's an absolute steal based off of what I've seen the last 3 months.
Now the U.S. books have 4.5 BetMGM, all
Yep.
that, and you have to look about it. The number one books to have the most action is East Coast, New Jersey, New York. Of course, they're going to have it 4.5 because you're going to get all that East Coast money is riding tickets on the Knicks. So everyone says, why is this number not 3? Which I originally had. I thought Knicks 3-point favorite. It's pretty much a pick 'em if it was on a neutral court, 3-point favorite. But you couldn't because you'll just get crushed with Knicks money line, Knicks -3. They had to do 4.5 to try to middle that number in there. So I agree, it's mispriced, but you had to misprice it.
I wonder, because back when I lived in Connecticut, when I was in the WWE, I had 2 different bookies. And I remember they used to tell me that anything New York based, they would have to maneuver the number because everybody in the New York area wanted to bet on the Knicks, the Giants, the Jets. Even when those teams sucked, every fan is betting on them. And they have to move the number. Do you think that bookies are still a big deal in New York, in the New York area?
Yes, 110%.
Really?
I tell people, what do I say all the time? Need more shops. Just because you have a BetMGM account, sometimes you need another account to either middle or get a better number, or for futures, always have a separate book for futures so you don't have the money tied in on that one. Yes, people are still using bookies.
Wow. I'm so glad I don't have a book anymore. I'm so glad that that world is behind me. Oh, there was nothing worse than knowing Tuesday was coming and knowing you had to go meet your guy. And I was the perfect client. I made just enough money that I could bet a little bit bigger, but not enough that if I had a really bad week, I could pay it off. And I'll never forget one of my best buddies. This was, God, 2000. I haven't bet like that since 2003, 2004. So imagine getting this call. One of my bookies, his nickname was Sharky. And Sharky, the reason he had this name was the big business was loan sharking, which I didn't know anything about. And I remember I've always been a likable guy. Even the bookies loved me. So I remember getting a call one day, and Sharky said, "Hey, coach, listen, we're going over our books, and we're going to open up a $50,000 line of credit for you." Hmm. And I said, "How does that work?" And he goes, "Well, it's 3% interest." And I said, now you're laughing because you know what I'm getting ready to say. But as a novice, as a person, I'm thinking it's like a 30-year house loan that it's going to be 3% over the course of the thing. And I'm like, um, that's not so bad. He said a week. A week. So say you take the full 50,000 and you can do anything you want with it. Say you want to go buy a car. You're paying $1,500 on that 50 before you hit the principal. Once I did that math, I was like, there's no way I'm ever, but they were very, very nice. They were very nice. I have nothing bad to say about my former guys. They were amazing. They were very nice people. Now, what really was eye opening was I used to drop money off of this bodega. Like I'm sure you've done the same thing, where you take it and you walk in and you lose $300, you put it on the table, you take a Twix bar. And it was the same bodega 2-3 years. Like I said, I haven't done it in over 20 years. And I get a call from my best friend. He goes, "Did you see the paper?" When newspapers existed.
What's a paper?
And exactly. And I go and I buy the newspaper and it says biggest mob bust since 1983, something like over 20 years. And I'm looking down through the names. Both of my guys are on it. And I'm like, oh my God. Then the bodega where I'd been dropping money off, rarely did I collect, was also in this. We've been monitoring and under surveillance for 3 years. So now my heart's pumping because I'm in the middle of my WWE career. I'm like, oh my God, I'm going to get arrested. They don't want the players. They don't care about the players. But when you're reading this, you're thinking a million different things. And that was when I knew I've got to stop this. I cannot keep doing this. And I've bet from time to time as we go along, but never have I gone down that road ever again. But like I said, they were great to me. They were very, very nice guys. I have nothing bad to say about them, but I couldn't live in that world full time. I could, it would drive me insane. Raphael, good job today, buddy. Great job today. Please, when you're giving lunch to baby Raph, let him know we appreciate his contributions. What was his play again today on the morning show?
His Pacers money line. He doesn't want the +4.5. The dog woke him up. The dog's getting the
We
cash
don't
for
need
him.
that. Plus 155, I believe, currently at BetMGM. Do not forget, catch us every single morning, 10 a.m. Eastern Time, Coach and Company. The full show live on Stadium. You can also watch on YouTube or on our social media. For now, he's Raphael, my numbers guy, producer man behind the scenes. I am the coach. We'll see you tomorrow. There is only one, the Coach and Company podcast. Take care.